What up, YouTube? What up, world? It's your boy, the author. Right back at that ass again. Here's another one. I just want to make this one quick video, man. I was going to wait to make this tomorrow, but the point I touched on in my previous video, I just talked about the situation where, you can blame a black man for almost anything. This reminds me of that movie too, with when NWA, the group NWA, said they were being robbed by their label guy. I forget the white guy's name right now. His name escapes me. But when they said they were being robbed by their manager, Michelle A came out with this Lifetime movie, because I guess she wasn't mentioned. She was mentioned, I think, only once in the Straight Outta Compton movie. But so she was like, well, she wasn't mentioned, so she made this Lifetime, or they made this Lifetime special for her. And she was talking about Jerry Heller, I guess, was the NWA's manager, and she said that Dre was complaining about him not getting paid or by the manager, and she made it seem like his checks were there, but he just failed to check his mailbox. So she just made it seem like he was getting paid the whole time. He just wasn't checking his mailbox. So I mean, it's just that type of thing where when I talked about brothers getting blamed for pretty much everything that goes on, that may or may not be their fault. But I want to talk in this video about the big problem I think brothers are having, and men in general are having, especially with women in the West, and maybe even with women worldwide. And that problem is where a lot of people are, staying single, and seems to be more of a gender war or gender tug. Females' complaints are there's not enough real men out here and things of that nature, and which may be true to a point. But this video is about how there's not enough real women out here. We have too many little girls out here, man, and we don't have enough mature. We don't have nearly enough mature women. And I think part of that may be society's fault, but women are gonna have to, or girls are gonna have to ultimately take responsibility for their own actions, man. And even though we're in this technological era where they talk about real adulthood is kind of stunted because we're in the technological era. I saw this one time. They said in The Sopranos the real 27 is now equivalent to like 21, from a psychiatrist or a psychology standpoint. But even putting all that aside, man, in terms of your immaturity, now it may have hit the men in terms of certain things, and like video games or things like that. Some guys are 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. They still play Xbox or whatever. But it's really hit the women hard. And here's why, I think, because somehow I think society has spoiled women in terms of, this feminist era has made all women queens, and all women are worthy of, respect, especially when they become a mother. And all of this, all women should be treated like respect. And some guys are so horny, and they'll say pussy don't got no face, so they'll fuck anything, no matter how big she is, no matter how nasty, no matter how much she may not wash her ass. And then this brother's just suffering out here, man. And this needs to be said, man. Before all women are not special, first and foremost. And first of all, and women are like men. They're human beings first. You're a human being first, and then you're a gender. So I mean, all saying all women deserve respect is like saying all men deserve respect. Neither is true. Um, but we have a lot of, in terms of, in old school, men were expected to take care of the women. And that's because a lot of women, didn't work back in those times, especially like in the 50s and 60s. But things have changed in a lot of, landscapes. A lot of corporations tend to hire women more than they hire men. But, they still have this thing, women still have this feeling of entitlement where the man should still pay even though she's working and she may be making more money than he's making. Courts still tend to favor women in terms of alimony and things of that nature, even if she's making more. There's a myth that women are tend to be better parents. And yeah, I mean, it spawns off of this thing even from when they're real small, women. And that's why you have so many bitter women, because they're like little girls. Girls expect there to be a fairyland. Girls believe in Cinderella and the golden slipper and her knight in shining armor and her princess. And, a lot of these women, regardless of their racial background, especially black women, feel entitled. They feel they should have a prince, and they all feel that they're princesses, and that's a little girl's mentality. You should grow out of that, but a lot of 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 and even 80 and 90-year-old women are still they have that little girl mentality. The only difference is when they get older, they find more clever ways to cover up the little girl mentality. But a lot of grown females, like even the one in the story I did where the females in Houston were snatching the weaves out of the store. A lot of grown females they're acting like kids, little girls. And they expect the prince and, the knight in shining armor and their prince and all that stuff like that, man. And that's just, you get the kind of person that you are, So if you want a better person, you have to become that better person. But that's an adult perspective. A lot of these females all believe that they deserve to be a princess, first of all, regardless of what they've done in their life. Princes, everybody says they want to be royalty, but not everyone is royalty. And then even if you do have to, once you wear the crown, you have to take responsibility. That crown comes with a lot of responsibility. A lot of females don't want the responsibility, but they want all the accolades that come along with the title. Meaning they want all the gifts and the praise that come along with being called a princess, but they don't want to take on the responsibility of being a leader and actually really making a community. Which is why you have a lot of women, backseat drivers where, they want to sit in the passenger seat but tell you where to turn. That way they can still have control, but if something goes wrong, it still falls on the shoulders of the man. And this by default has made men leaders, because we take all the, we have accolades and glory, but we take all the bumps and bruises that come along with making mistakes. And we all know learning from mistakes is what helps a person to mature and to become that, that leader and that ruler. And when you don't want to take any of the bumps, then you'll be in this little girl or immature fantasy type of world. Yeah, man. And like I said, they want the accolades, especially black women. They want the respect, but they don't want to take any responsibility. Just like the thing of, controlling 75% of the black economy's wealth, yet you just spend it all on weed. You don't want to take that money now with that responsibility. You being in the lead seat, that means you have responsibility. So with that, if you control 75% of the black economy's wealth, or the 75% of the black economic wealth, then you should be creating businesses. If you want to wear weaves, create weave businesses. You are in that front seat. You can't say, well, the man has to create a foundation. Well, no, because you've thrown the man out. You said you could do bad all by yourself. White America has passed the torch to you. So they won't hire the black man, but they'll hire you for the most part. So you're in that front seat. You can't blame the man for not being in that front seat, because the man was dethroned and you was placed in that position, because obviously, you can't be over your woman if you don't control a piece of the world, which is what the black man has found out over the past few centuries. So you're in that front seat. Now it's your responsibility. Now, the way the black community is now, you have to put that on the shoulders of the leaders. Who are the leaders? The ones who control the majority of the wealth in the black community. But you're not going to see too many black females take responsibility for the gangs and the drugs and the what have you. So that's the black man's fault if he was in the house. You see what I'm saying? But you still want all the money. You still want everybody to bow down to you. If your kid doesn't listen to you, you want to hit them with a spoon or a switch or a broom. But you ain't taking responsibility for anything that's happened in the past 30 or 40 years since you've been in that driver's seat. So that's having a little girl's mentality. You don't have the woman's mentality. A woman's going to get in the driver's seat and try to mold that community into something. Even if she fails as a leader, she's going to try to mold, because that's what leaders do. So that shows that you can be in the driver's seat, but that doesn't mean that you're a leader. Someone can sit a puppet in any on any throne. If that entity or if that group runs the world, they could sit any puppet they want on the throne. Like a lot of times too with the U.S., what they'll do is they'll set up a proxy army in another country, or a fake government that they control. Now the people that they pick, like say if they take over Libya, the U.S. will pick the president of that country. That don't mean that guy is the smartest or most qualified, in that country. That means the U.S. just picked the most qualified. That they picked who they wanted to pick. They don't look and see, okay, out of this pool of talented people, we're gonna pick this one. Now they picked who they want to pick, who they wanted to pick, the person who's gonna listen to them. Same thing in the black community. They just, the black woman is now the puppet. She's been placed in that position. As you can tell, the black community now versus what I hear about from the old heads in the 60s, there's no more Afro. You used to see one or two black stores. There's no more of those. We fell head over here for integration. So my thing is men and women, they each have a role, but one thing the two have in common is they both are not afraid to take responsibility, and they both can be leaders. Now, granted, some people say, well, the women belong in the kitchen and the men should be working. And that was how things used to go. The men were the hunters and the gatherers. And, being a part of the diet and being able to feed the community and feed the village is like Dr. Shahrazad Ali said in her speech. That's a very important role, and a lot of women frown on being the caretaker and being the person who cooks. A lot of females we know in this generation, they can't even cook. They burn water. But Dr. Shahrazad Ali was saying how important it is to be able to cook. She's like, you control who lives, who dies slow. You control the diet of that community. That's a very powerful and important role, and she's right. Someone can put anything in your food, but that wasn't good enough for a lot of women. So the feminists spun the argument that, they should enter the workforce. And I'm not opposed to women who really want to be in the workforce. I just feel like I go to work every day. I've had many jobs, and most females I see that working don't look happy to me. I'm sorry. That's why I think you had that influx in the 2000s, from 2000 to 2010, and it may still be happening, where you're seeing soccer moms, women are returning home so they can take care of the kids because they're more happy in the home. So they're finding out what it took them 30 or 40 years to see. Actually getting in the corporate world is not all glamour and glitz. Now, the females who really want to be there, I do understand that, and not asking them to give up what they love to do, but most of these women need to ask themselves, you know, are you really happy being in this role? Or are you only taking this? Are you only being a lawyer because Jennifer's one, or because whatever Laura's one? But and then you have a lot of these females who are lawyers and doctors, but they still have that little girl mentality where they still, even though they make $100,000 a year, they still want a man to cater to them and to uh, roll out the royal carpet, no matter how nasty their attitude is, no matter if they wash their ass or not, no matter if they're pigs, which a lot of which some females are. Men should still, they deserve the red carpet. And that's a little girl fallacy. And I think nowadays we have too many little girls and not enough mature, not nearly enough mature women. Mature women, if a mature woman and her man gets incarcerated, or if he falls on hard straits, she's gonna take that. She's gonna take the reins and try to get that community back on top. Same thing that kind of happened in the feminist movement. That was just a reaction of the white woman feeling like her man was in trouble in the 60s. When you start seeing these black groups rise up, the black man plus the white man was having to fight wars abroad and at home. The Vietnam War, and then you had all these internal things going on in the country with the blacks finally starting to stand up and fight back, and civil rights at home, Vietnam War abroad. So it looks like the white man was in trouble. Female rose up, created feminism to get everything wrapped up. That's what women do. Not a little girl where she expected, oh, no matter what's happening to him, I still deserve the red carpet. No, a woman understands, hey, man, if he falls, just like in any, Dr. Barbie Wright said this, just like in any zoo, if the male falls, the adult female will try to pick up that slack because she knows what he can do. But if she has to take the reins temporarily until she can, save him enough time to where he can get up and take the reins again, she'll do what she has to do in the meantime, in between time, to keep things going. So when he does get back up in his natural state, then he can continue on being in power. That's how a woman thinks. But, look at our black community. A lot of brothers end up going to prison during the 60s. And, the black woman didn't step up and say, okay, well, I'll try to protect the community. And until that man gets out of incarceration, we'll go ahead and keep things going as best what we can as black women. And then when he gets up, we can start to fight off again. Did they do that? No. You know what I'm saying? Let's timeless buy weaves. Let's get tricked by feminism. Let's get all this hair. And I'm not blaming everything on one group, but I'm just making parallel comparisons so you can see, what's going on. And then, what I'm saying, that's kind of how I see it. But every race too. I mean, a lot of females have the little girl mentality. They're still waiting on the prince and the knight in shining armor, and they're mad that they didn't get it, and so now all men are shit. Or instead of finding that prince, they found a guy who put his foot in their ass. Maybe she deserved it, maybe she didn't. But now she's going to label all men because she didn't get her prince. And most of you females don't deserve the prince because if you had got him, you'd have ruined his life. He probably, the prince would have probably had a coke habit by now. Because you have to be the right type of woman. You have to be a prince to attract a prince. I'm sorry, you have to be a prince. As a woman, you have to be a princess in order to attract a prince. Queens attract kings. So if you meet one or two bad apples, that's one thing. But if every man you've ever met has been a certain type of way, and out of all the men on the planet, you have to ask yourself, maybe it's something about you that ain't shit. Like, and Cat Williams touched on this. Some comics have touched on this. But that's a reflection of your spirit, of your energy. Not the male race, because I mean a lot of black females are saying, "No, ain't no good black men out here." But most, the white females who do date black men, they're not complaining. They don't have a hard time. White females don't have a hard time finding black men. I haven't seen any black females on the internet or on YouTube talking about they have a hard time finding eligible black men. Not one. But I've heard plenty of black females talking about it's hard to find a black man. How come white females aren't having a hard time finding black men? How come Puerto Rican females who date black men, how come they're not having a hard time finding a black man? How come Mexican females who date black men aren't having a hard time finding black men? How come Asian women who Chinese and Japanese women who date black men, how come they're not complaining about they're having a hard time finding a good black man? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, man. Get off of that. But yeah, I think in general we have too many girls with a girl mindset and not enough mature. We don't have nearly as many mature women out there who can look at the world for the way it is, take some responsibility for who they are as a human being first, and then you're a woman second. Realizing these fundamentals, which will definitely help, take the mind lock off. But I mean, be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Are there too many girls out here? And now we're finding out too that we thought at first with a man not having his father, it hurt. Excuse me. At first we thought a boy, not having his father would hurt the boy in terms of now that transition from boy to adulthood or boy to manhood is not being made because the father isn't there to show to take on that responsibility to show the son a rite of passage. And maybe that man never went through a rite of passage himself, in terms of going from boy to man. But now we're finding out that a boy not having his father so he could be shown the way on how to be a man is just detrimental for a girl not having a father, because that father can also show her how to be a woman. Almost more than an actual mother, because sometimes the mother and daughter can clash heads and compete, in terms of, especially the mother trying to compete with her daughter. So the dad can be kind of separate from that. So the dad not only impacts the son, the dad can not only show the son how to go from boy to man, but it's also just important for a girl to have her father in her life. That way he can show her how to become a woman. Because how many females, I've been with plenty of females, man, and I'm tapping, especially I'm tapping that ass good, and they say, "Ooh, daddy, ooh, daddy, spank me, daddy, fuck me, daddy, ooh, daddy." See, they're looking for a father figure, you know what I'm saying, and then that's what they want. How many females will say that? If you've been hitting it good or making love to them good, they'll say, "Ooh, daddy." Now you can say it's the same. But at the same time, that's the missing element from a lot of females. So it's just as important for a boy to have his father than it is for a girl to have her father. Having a father is a rite of passage for both, boy to man, and it's equally as important for the father to be in a girl's life, so she can have that rite of passage from girl to woman. So the father's role is very powerful, and it's undervalued a lot. And so we're seeing that too. So with males being in a bad situation, now the females are in a situation that's not too great as well. But that's a direct reflection of what has happened to the boys. And so, you know, and each boy and girl suffers from not having a man in the household. All right, so basically that's the situation. So that's why we have more girls than women, and we need to change that around. But just want to make this short video, man. Not sure what I'm gonna call it yet. Be sure to like and subscribe. You know, ring that bell if you want to get access to all my latest videos. And again, it's your boy, the author. And if you took offense, I hope you're glad. Let's get ready for those holidays. All right, take care.